Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot, so let's get to decorating. Find your perfect tree in our huge assortment of shapes, sizes, and styles. Like the easy-to-assemble Jackson Noble Fir, with pre-lit branches perfect for styling with all your favorite ornaments. Or the Flock Starry Light Fraser Fir, with over 1,900 pre-lit memory wire branches that keep their shape so it's ready right out of the box. Ooh. Find the perfect tree now at the Home Depot.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you today, sir?
In 7.7 out of 10 form. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm tired, but I'm not bad. 7.7 out of 10, Karl. Are you not aware that the Reds are top of everything?
I am, but when's the next game? I thought I was ready for a nice international break, but apparently not.
Yeah. Do we really need 3 international breaks by this point of the season? It seems nonsensical, and I can't remember who it was. It may have been Andy Wales sent me a suggestion of how they could change the international breaks so we only have 2 in this chunk of the season, but the international teams would play 3 games in each. So no international games would be lost in the making of this improvement, but there would also then be regulations around how many of those international games players could actually play in so as not to be burning them out. Obviously, in the wake of the ACL injury to Rodri, the ACL injury to Carvajal, the ACL injury to Militao, and the raft of other injuries that have taken place around Europe this year, there's more focus again on injuries. And we've heard Rodri pre-injury and Alisson, before he also got hurt, talking about how there are too many games and how players are getting a little bit tired of being used like cart horses. So I wonder if this is something we're going to see negotiated in time, that players will not play every single minute of every single international game, and that if they're called up for a certain number of games, they have to be released for a certain number in order to just preserve their fitness and their health and their mental health as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there came a point, especially at the top end of the game, where even the domestic contracts, the club contracts, they're sort of stipulating a maximum potential number of appearances a season so that they can, not pick and choose when they can play, but, when things come up like this expanded Club World Cup, they can basically say, I'm not playing in that. I don't need to play in that. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want to be involved in it.
It's a bizarre thing that this, I believe, was one of the brainchilds of Arsene Wenger. And by all accounts, the clubs who have been invited to take part have been told that you have to bring your full-strength squad. Like, there's no wiggle room on this. But yet there doesn't seem to be the ability to decline to take part. It's more of a, you're in this competition and you have to bring your full strength team and play your best players, which we obviously won't know until next season. But it seems to me like the teams that play in that competition are going to be at a distinct disadvantage next season because they won't have had a proper break.
Yeah, I mean, it's another competition, another collection of games. It's more travel. Obviously, the preparation will probably be different for different clubs because their seasons will be at different points as well. I don't really see the need for it at all. It is fairly straightforward, I think, to headline this one under greed.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100% agree. Greed is where it falls. But thankfully, we don't need to worry about it. The teams from Europe who will take part are Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Milan, Porto, Benfica, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and Red Bull Salzburg. So they are the teams who will take part, and we don't need to worry about it until potentially 2029. Right. We are here today to travel back in time just a little bit. To go back the summer of 2022 and put ourselves in the shoes of Chelsea Football Club. Chelsea Football Club were taken over that summer by Todd Boehly and his collective under the umbrella Blue Co. And obviously, since they took over, they have spent a quite ludicrous amount of money on new players. They've also sold a lot of players. But for all the bravado and all the hype, they have finished 12th in the league, gone out in the third round of both cups and the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and then 6th in the league, got to the semi-final of an FA Cup and lost the League Cup final to us. So it has not been a success thus far. 2 years in, they are on, well, let's see, they took over with Thomas Tuchel in charge. They sacked him shortly into the new season, hired Graham Potter. Graham Potter lasted about 7 months, and then they hired Frank Lampard to see them out to the end of the season, and then they brought in Pochettino. He was given 1 year. He seemingly was desperate to leave. And then Enzo Maresca is manager now. So they're on manager number 5 in just over 2 years, which isn't great. And obviously we've seen an incredible turnover of the playing squad. So we thought we would rebuild, or not rebuild, but go back to go back to 2022 and sort of take an alternative path through history. I believe this question was sent to us on Discord by Red Eye. If I'm wrong about that, correct me, Guy. But I think this is quite an interesting little game.
Yeah, bit of a switch on how we normally do our rebuild. Obviously, in this instance, we are going to have the benefit of hindsight, which is not cheating, but certainly worthwhile just acknowledging. So we can sort of say, this is why, and this is how it's transpired, and therefore this might have been a better thing. Not necessarily all about our views of right now, but maybe of what happened elsewhere and where maybe Chelsea could have gone for player X instead of player Y.
Yeah, and, you know, mistakes that may or may not have been made in terms of player sales as well, because obviously that's a big factor here. They have sold a lot of players. So in the summer of 2022, Karl, they signed Eddie Beach from Southampton, one of many goalkeepers that they have signed. He is a 21-year-old who is yet to play for them. They signed Raheem Sterling for $47.5 million. He is currently on loan at Arsenal after 2 fairly mediocre seasons. They signed Kalidou Koulibaly. They sold him after 1 year. They did bring in Amari Hutchinson on a free from Arsenal. He was loaned out to Ipswich. He has since moved permanently to Ipswich. That's turned out to be a very good move because they banked a substantial chunk of money off that one. They signed Gabriel Slonina, the second of many goalkeepers. He's currently on loan with League One Barnsley, but is very, very highly regarded. They brought in Carney Chukwuemeka from Aston Villa. To date, he has played 29 games, but he has dealt with a number of injuries. Very, very talented player. They brought in Zach Sturridge, who's a young left-back that came in from Brighton. He's spent last season on loan with Peterborough, or half of last season on loan with Peterborough, but as yet has not played for Chelsea. They signed Mark Cucurella for £60 million. He began this season as the first-choice left-back and then dropped out, but has come back into the team. They signed Cesare Caicedo for £17 million. He has spent a season on loan with Leicester. He spent some time on loan with Reading. To date, he has made 14 appearances in all competitions for Chelsea. They signed Wesley Fofana. Now, he's been wrecked with injuries since they signed him, so only 30 appearances, but starting this season and playing very, very well. And they signed, for reasons known only to themselves, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who lasted the one season and was then allowed to leave on a free after they paid £10 million to sign him from Barcelona, who had signed him for free because Arsenal were desperate to get rid. And the most interesting signing they made, in my opinion, is Tyler Dibling, who left 6 months later and is currently playing back at Southampton and looking like a star in the making. They also loaned in Dennis Zakaria that summer. So a lot of money spent. You're talking $275.1 million, including the loan fee for Zakaria. I would imagine quite a lot of regret around that spend.
What gives you the idea of that? This is just the summer, we should probably point out.
Yes, there's a whole raft of things to come for the winter side.
I think that the winter window was more of everything. I think it was worse and it was better than the summer one. Most of the summer one was big and powerful, but without necessarily hitting the right spots, I think. I think it was much more of a splash than an actual, guided stroke to where they wanted to be. That's how it was perceived at the time, and I think that that's pretty much how it's panned out to be. Like, obviously, with a lot of the youngsters, you can never tell too much how that's going to develop, and it's obviously got to be partly on knowledge and ability to sort of project abilities, but also partly you are always going to be taking a bit of a gamble on younger players, so not knock it off, but you can certainly understand if some of them don't pan out. But certainly age, profile, position, style, previous clubs and the like, I think that the seniors that they brought in that summer, mixed bag, would be being very, very kind.
Yes, it would be. I think if you were doing it again...
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Add $179 million in total cash prizes.
Mom, what are you doing?
Mix in 3 parts bills, bonus boxes, and multipliers.
Is this some kind of recipe?
Gradually stir in a ton of excitement.
Oh, you're trying to make Ohio Lottery holiday scratch-offs, aren't you? Stop overcomplicating things. Just go buy all your favorites like Holiday Cash, Holiday Lucky Times 10, and Merry Money.
Oh, that is easier.
Uh-huh.
Now help sift non-winning tickets into My Lotto Rewards for a second chance to win.
Play Holiday Scratch-Offs. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write 1 million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. it's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Beach, you'd sign. Hutchinson, you'd sign. Slonina, you'd sign. Chukwuemeka, you'd sign. Sturridge, you'd sign. Because Dibbling left after 6 months and went back to Southampton, you probably wouldn't bother doing that. And I think I don't know that you'd do the Fofana deal again at that kind of money. £75 million is an exceptional amount of money for a centre-back who is very, very good. Like, don't get me wrong. If he could stay fit, he'd be one of the best centre-backs in Europe. But his injuries didn't just start at Chelsea. Like, they bought him with a track record of injuries that dated back to his time at St Etienne. So it was a huge gamble. So as I look at that summer, and I look at the money spent, £275 million, it's very hard for me to say I would do much of that business again. Like I say, Slonina, Chukwuemeka, they might be the only ones that actually pay money for, and that comes to 28.1 million, because Beach, Hutchinson and Sturridge were all frees. I don't know that I'd do any of those other deals again.
But again, that is with hindsight. Of
course it is.
At the time, I think everyone would have done the Koulibaly deal.
I had concerns. I did have some at the time. Now, I would do that deal, especially at that price.
Yeah.
But it is worth remembering that when they signed him, he just turned 31 years of age. So he wasn't in his prime. If he was at the tail end of it, if anything, he was coming off an iffy enough season with Napoli. And of course, Napoli would roar to the league title the season after he left. But he had been a tremendous defender for years. So yeah, you probably would do that one again.
I would say that you would even more likely do that one with him being at the tail end, just because you want
a bridge, kind of.
Yeah, you want him to come in and basically be one of the leaders in a new group and show them what they need to be doing to get back to that kind of level, because they were miles off it. Let's not be around the bush here. They were rubbish. And they needed a big refit to the squad, but with that comes a whole different array of levels that people have been at before and different expectations of what you've got to do game after game after game. So I probably would have been looking at bringing in someone like him regardless. And if he was, like you say, at that price, I don't think too many would have turned it down.
So would you have done the Sterling deal? Now, I think if Manchester City make it known they're looking to move on a player, it's generally, I think, a hands-off type of moment, because Raheem hasn't worked out here. Gabriel Jesus has been very hit and miss for Arsenal, no longer a first-choice player. Zinchenko has been very hit and miss for Arsenal, no longer a first-choice player. City seem to know what they're doing when they sell a player. It seems to be that they've gotten the best out of them, and now they're moving them on to, make a profit and bring in funds so that they can cook the books a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Sterling, it would very, very much be dependent on who you have in place as coach. So, obviously, it was Tuchel at the time very quickly, then Potter. So, if the plan was already to be Potterized, then no, I wouldn't be. But in a Tuchel fairly flexible setup, or if you're bringing in someone else who was, again, a new manager, but fairly tactically flexible, then yes, I would. because Sterling by then was already not a wing. He was already not even really an inside forward. He was very much a second forward at that point. He was someone who will break behind the defence, be a goal scorer from inside the penalty box, that kind of thing. He was never a, should we say, a Saka type, but obviously on the opposite flank, where you're going to be running past people, cutting in and letting them fly from the edge of the box. That's not the type of forward he was already by that point. But if you're looking at someone to be sort of a second forward in a fluid setup, or a 4-2-3-1, which off ball is 4-4-2, that kind of thing, then yes, I would have, again, at that price.
I should correct myself on something, actually. They signed Tyler Dibbling on the 11th of August. He left on the 1st of September. So less than a month. Less than a month he stayed at the club. Got a bad smell and decided this wasn't for him. Let's look then at the winter transfer window. So they bring in Benoit Badiashile, 35 million. He's a solid centre-back. He's a good backup. Fair enough. David Datro Fofana signed from Molde for 10 million. He's currently on loan with Göztepe in Turkey. Andre Santos, very, very promising young midfielder, signed for Vasco da Gama, currently plays for their sister club at Strasbourg on loan. Mikhailo Mudryk, Karl, £62 million initial fee, rising to 89 million, signed seemingly only to annoy Arsenal.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Noni Mudeki signed for 29 million. Malo Gusto for 26.3. Enzo Fernandez for 106.7 million. Jimmy J. Morgan signed for 3 million from Southampton. Young player, apparently very promising. I don't know anything about him. And João Felix signed on loan from Atletico Madrid. This is obviously the first window under Potter. This is a big commitment to going and signing young players. The decision in the summer to kind of try and, split it a little bit and get some experience in Sterling and Koulibaly and Cucurella, who, is still young but had plenty of experience behind him. This summer, and obviously Aubameyang, who was a desperation signing really, but this window they go big on young players. Everybody there is 23 or below. And I mean, Enzo's had some moments. Gusto's had some good performances. Medeki's had some good performances. Mudryk has largely been a disaster. Badiashile, I think, probably been a little bit underwhelming and disappointing for them. Fofana, they've already decided they don't want him anymore. They tried to sell him in the summer. Santos, we haven't seen really for Chelsea yet. So people are very, very high on him, but he seems to be getting crowded out by the sheer volume of midfielders they've brought in under this ownership. What to make of this window?
Yeah, like I said, I think this one hit bigger highs, but also deeper lows. I mean, I wouldn't have done the Enzo deal simply on account of the fee. If nothing else, the fee that you're paying for him then versus the fee that was paid for him only a few months earlier, I just wouldn't be doing that, not in the slightest. Badiashile, similarly, I wouldn't have touched that with a barge bolt. I just didn't think he was a good defender. Like, at Monaco, him and Disasi, watched them a lot. Just not my style. Recognise that between them they have good traits, but I preferred Disasi over Badiashile, and I didn't really like Badiashile that much, so I wouldn't have done that. Malo Gusto, definitely, on the other hand, he was really strong defensively for Lyon, and that deal was also for the start of the following campaign.
Yeah.
So I've no problem with that one being done whatsoever. Absolutely go for that.
Especially when you have a right back who has such injury problems as Reece James does.
Yeah. And the value of that has obviously been proven many times over since then. But even then, we were sort of noting that was a really, really good deal that they'd got done. Noni Madeke, I'd seen less of him, but he was obviously a bit of a standout. And for that position, that role, I think that was a reasonable price at the time. So, yeah, would probably still have gone along with that one. Mudryk, like you say, for the price, which was what, 2 and a bit Madekes, for the level, the age, for the performances he'd had in sort of Champions League
and the division he's coming from.
Yeah, it's a wild overpay. So again, I wouldn't have had a problem looking at the player, but not for that price. Like you need a bigger body of work for that age. Was it 22 when he came in? So
yeah, you
should already be looking at like quite a significant volume of either really, really rapid progress over the last 18 months or so, or else, 2-3 solid years behind him already. So I don't really think we had either one of those.
No, he had 6 months. He had 6 months. Like the previous summer, they were shopping him around and looking for about 20 million, and teams were not biting.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Opendoor is represented by Opendoor Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Opendoor Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
And then he has 6 good months. Arsenal get interested, and all of a sudden the price goes up and Chelsea just do a stupid thing. The Fernandes one is the funniest because Benfica on the 23rd of June 2022 pay 10 million with 8 million in add-ons, and he stays until the 14th of July. Then he moves, so he comes in on the 14th of July. Obviously has a great World Cup, does very, very impressive stuff for Argentina, but in the January window, like 6 months after he moves for 10 million plus 8 in add-ons, he goes for 106.8 million, which is just like, you have to give Benfica some credit for this. That's worked out very well for them.
Extremely. Yeah. Yeah, like I say, the Aubameyang deal, no, wouldn't have touched that in the summer. Fofana deal in the winter is different because he's obviously a much younger player, even though the fees of them were very, very similar. I don't think Fofana has ever looked that good, to be honest. So presumably when he was in Norway, there was plenty of talk about him or whatever, and maybe you can say, like I said, you get some of them right, some of them wrong with younger players. But if you already had Aubameyang and then you brought in him and then you still went and got João Felix on loan as well, Like, that's a lot of players for the same area of the pitch who you don't really seem sure about which way you're going. So we know it was very, very muddled. That's kind of the reason why we're doing this from this point onwards. But I think it would have been one of them at most, and then probably looking elsewhere.
Just to be complete on this season, the players that left, Rudiger left at the end of his contract, Andreas Christensen left at the end of his contract, Danny Drinkwater retired having milked every penny he could out of them. They sold Timo Werner, they sold Emerson Palmieri, they sold Billy Gilmore, Ross Barkley was released, Marcus Alonso left at the end of his contract, Billy Gilmore was sold to Brighton, Xavier Biamba, who, when they signed him, I think 2 years earlier, I think he came in in the same window as Kai Havertz and Timo Werner and all this. The window that many talking heads tried to paint as the greatest window anyone had ever had. And he was tagged as the next Van Dijk. That's who he was, the next Van Dijk. He left on a free to join Volendam, who play in the second division in the Netherlands now. They were an Eredivisie team when he joined, but they're not now. Kennedy finally left. He'd been there for years. Michi Batshuayi left. And then in the January window, Jude Sousop-Bell, who they were quite high on at one point, he went to Tottenham. It didn't work out. He now plays for Cordoba in Spain. In the don't they play in the second division in Spain? And they also moved on Jorginho, who went to Arsenal for 12 million. They loaned out everybody. Bakayoko, Lukaku, Ian Matson, Tino Anjorin, Malang Sarr, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Harvey Vale, Ethan Ampadu, a bunch of other players. And the final big move that season, was the decision, having backed the manager to the hilt of £275 million in the summer, a week after the transfer window closed, they sacked Thomas Tuchel and hired Graham Potter, who they sacked in April. So let's start there, Karl. Let's start with the manager. What would you have done? Like, you've just spent, we'll take them as separate things, but you've just spent $275 million to back Thomas Tuchel. Season hasn't started ideally, admittedly, but it is only 6 league games. You've won 3 of them, drawn 1 and lost 2, away to Leeds and away to Southampton. You have not yet played in a domestic cup. You have played 1 Champions League game and you lose it to Dinamo Zagreb, after which you make the decision to sack the manager. But why would you back a manager to that extent and then sack him, 7 games into the season?
You wouldn't.
I will never understand that decision. And then, like, the Potter thing, the money they spent towards Potter, the 290 odd million in the January, that wasn't really spent towards Potter. Like, that was spent on, these are the best young players we can find. We're signing them all on ludicrously long contracts, like 7, 8, 9 years, which is going to outdo any manager here. So Graham Potter wasn't really a consideration. None of those players were bought for the then and now. They were all bought for the long term. So Potter was, let's be clear, a pretty spectacular failure there. But with Tuchel, like Koulibaly and Sterling and Aubameyang, they were signed for him. They were for the then. They weren't for the future. I'm like, Thomas Tuchel, for whatever flaws he has, and he's not perfect by any stretch, but he is a very, very good manager. And moving on for him to Graham Potter was a very clear step down at that time. was a gamble on that Potter will develop. But Graham Potter never, to me anyway, never struck me as having the right mindset or mentality for a club like Chelsea. The whole thing was so strange.
Yep, like you say, there is no real explaining for it because there was never really any setup for it. Like, even if Potter was the one that they wanted, like you said, the transfers weren't really geared to him. The mentality of the squad at the time certainly wasn't geared to what Chelsea imagined they were, let alone Potter then coming in. Then if you are going to allow a manager like Potter, who you look everywhere he's been, he's kind of changed the playing style, he's changed the mindset, he's changed everything. That doesn't happen in like 4 months. Like, if you're going to give a manager like that the opportunity to do his work, basically, then you have to give him the time to do it. And you're not going to expect results 3 and 4 months in. And if you are, then you're hiring the wrong manager, which proves to be the case, obviously. I would have kept Tuchel, certainly for the full season, at least. Like, you're not going to get a better standing manager than him. And you can at least see then what he can bring out of the ones that you are bringing in. He can put in pretty good, I think, what should we say, levels of like discipline and expectation of the squad, because he's been there, he's done that, he's been to big finals, he's achieved more than what most of those players that they were bringing in have done or had done at that point. I think I would have stuck with him for that first full year and just give yourself proper time. Then if you're messing around and interfering with the player transfers and so on, then see how the head coach gets on with that, see how the separation does with that, and learn basically what you need rather than jumping in 10 feet deep in like 6 different pools at once.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.